talk about the weight that we carry, okay? And the silent battles we fight alone. I don't feel that it is talked about enough. A lot of us are fighting battles and we don't talk about it. We just get up every day like everything is perfectly fine and we have a normal day. And deep down inside, we are hurting, you know? And sometimes it feels like we're embarrassed to even share what we're going through. But I had to learn on my healing journey that it's okay to talk, and somebody else like you is going through the same thing. So if you open up and share it, you just never know what the next person is dealing with. I feel like the emotional weight of being strong all the time takes a toll on our mindset, on our body, on our everyday function in life. And you don't realize that you are just constantly going, and being strong all the time, that you don't have no emotions. I can recall at times people would say, I'm mean. And it's not that I'm mean. Realistically, I don't know how to be emotional. I know this sounds crazy. But I had to learn to share my emotions and show emotions because I was forced at a younger age to grow up and be an adult because I became a teen mom. When I became a teen mom, it was like, you can't cry about this because you made a mistake. You had a baby. So you got to be strong. And I always have had the mindset of being strong to where the point I had no emotions, if that makes sense. Like, even it struggled with me dating. The only thing that I have emotions with, I can honestly say, is with my kids. With dating, I didn't have any emotions, and I can honestly say, for me, it came from parent trauma. And I feel like parent trauma is not talked about. I feel like we sweep it under the rug. We try not to make our parents feel a certain type of way. And don't get me wrong, I love my mom, I love my dad, but I do have parent trauma. I feel like back in the day, our parents, I'm that millennium baby. I feel like our parents back in the day was only focusing on making money and living their life. So they didn't really have time to spend time. I can recall I never really did nothing for the summer or the spring break. My mom was always at work. My dad was always at work. So I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. And then when my dad did take off work, I spent time with him. But, we just kind of did things in the house. Not saying we had to go on lavish trips and things like that. But I don't really have a real bond with them. And it made me want to have a real bond with my children. Because I did not grow up spending a lot of time with my parents, I feel like I don't really have a real bond with my parents. And I don't really call and talk to them about things that other people would call and talk to their parents about. I mean, I check on my parents every day, but I just call to check on them. But to have a real conversation about everyday life, I don't feel I can have that conversation with them because it's just, I didn't have that growing up, if that makes sense. And I'm not making excuses. I'm not bashing my parents. I love my parents. It's just that I feel like the abandonment that I received from my parents caused me to be this super strong, independent woman. Like, you can't give up. You can't stop. You can't take a break. You got to keep going. Mindset to where now I'm 35 and I want to be soft. I don't want to be strong all the time. I don't want to not be able to cry and I feel embarrassed because I'm crying, or oh no, somebody's gonna see me crying and and I'm gonna feel a certain type of way, or I feel embarrassed because I can't cry. And I don't want my kids to feel like that. I want my kids to be able to express that emotion because I'm raising boys, and boys, we teach our boys that you're not supposed to be emotional, but we want them to be able to release their emotions and speak and tell how they feel. So I'm not saying that I want to be the cool parent, but I want my boys to feel comfortable enough to come to me no matter if I'm working sun up to sundown to have that conversation. I make it my business every day to be home when my kids come home from school and shut off work. So that way I can spend time with them. Let's have movie night. Let's have family night. Let's go eat. We don't always have to go luxury places or spend money to do things, but just spending that one-on-one time with them I know that later on it will mean something, because I don't want them to feel like, well, I have parent trauma, I can't really call and talk to my mom. I can recall on days that I just really be going through it. And you know them days when you really just be going through it, when you don't want to be bothered. And you still got to show up. You know, we deal with so much inside, and we put on a mask to hide our real emotions, that we forget that we're really hurting inside, and you want to talk to somebody. Which that day it may be you want to talk to your parents. But if you don't really have that real bond, how can you call and talk to your parents? You know? And yes, you forgive them. You know, we go to therapy, and therapy help us to forgive, and we let it go, and we accept it for what it is. But then we look at the relationships that we hold with other individuals, and it's like you have to learn how to talk to that person, learn how to show emotion, learn how to, as they like to say, be submissive, especially when you're walking in that role of seeking a husband, or, you know, seeking a wife. You have to be compatible with other people. But if you wasn't raised that way, it's one of them things like, well, how do you turn off the strong if all you know is to be strong? All you know is to be in survival mode. How do you turn that off? That's a silent battle I fight every day on not knowing how to turn my strongness off. And as I get older, I realize that I didn't fought so many battles silently, but what helped me get through it was journaling. Like, I had to take it back to when I was a kid, writing in my diary. I mean, it has a lot of thoughts in there, but it helped me heal. And then also going to therapy. I'm not ashamed to say that I did seek therapy, because I wanted to become the full best version of myself. And I couldn't do that by talking to friends and family, because I'm going to just be real with you. Humans like to judge. We're not supposed to judge, but people do it, you know. And you tell somebody that you're fighting this battle, and it may come off something you don't want to hear. And if the cut still hurt, then I got a wall up, and it's gonna hurt me, and I'm not gonna want to hear what you're saying. And then, are you even telling me the right thing? So I had to learn to get in tune with myself and pray and journal my thoughts and go to therapy. I was going to therapy weekly. She had me going to weekly sessions, and I was expressing the pain, the anger, the battles and stuff that I was facing, that I didn't feel comfortable talking about to other people. And I can honestly say it helped me forgive easily. I'm not one of those individuals that stay mad long. People tell me all the time, they be like, you don't be mad about nothing. For what? I mean, once I identify what I'm dealing with, who I'm dealing with, it's up to us if we want to give it more time and thought into it, if that makes sense. So why would I put myself through more trauma and more silent battles when I can identify what I'm dealing with, and then I pick and choose if that's something I want to deal with? I just had to learn to speak my truth and just stop suffering in silence. Because one of the biggest reasons that I realized why I was feeling overwhelmed, overworked, and anxiety was getting the best of me was because we don't talk about it. We don't want to share what we're going through. We want to just sweep it under the rug. We want to dress it up and make it like everything is just perfect patty, because we don't want to be judged or talked about. But who cares? Who cares if somebody feel a certain type of way about your testimony? Because at the end of the day, it's your battles, your testimony, and you never know if you're going to heal the next person if you would just open up and share what you're going through. So, I say this. Your feelings are valid. Speak your truth, buddy. Okay? And you don't have to be strong all the time. We are in a new era where we're not constantly walking with a strong mind, strong emotions, and we just don't want to open up and let people inside. How will you ever become the best version of yourself if everything is about being strong? Open up sometimes. Let it go. Release. Heal. And just keep on moving. Today, I challenge you to find at least one person, whether it's friends, a family member, a coworker, or just anybody, and release your thoughts. Even if it's you finding a journal, release your thoughts down in that journal and let it go. And the moment that you say, I feel overwhelmed today, I feel like I'm struggling, you will notice that the weight is being lifted off your shoulders. If you don't feel comfortable with sharing your battles with somebody else and you feel like you're not ready for that, that's fine. But I want you to message me or comment down below, because guess what? This is your safe space. Here's Your Truth podcast is for you to speak your truth. So don't be ashamed. Okay, we're all fighting these battles together. And once we realize that we don't have to fight these battles alone and in silence, we are going to set the motherfucking boundaries. Okay? He's working on me. Alright? He's controlling my tongue. I'm trying to stop cussing. But you're going to set them boundaries. Alright? Because once we heal, we are going to stop saying yes to everything. Because what I notice is individuals that are super duper strong and that fight battles in silence, we tend to say yes to everything. And no, it's okay to say no. You do not have to hold on with saying yes all the time. I know for me, some people think that I am a pushover because I don't like confrontation. And I know if I take it there, I'm going to take it there. So I try to avoid arguments, or even having to have a heated discussion with somebody, or even if I just know it's going to be a debate, I try to turn the other cheek and be like, nah, I don't want to go that route. But listen, in this season, we are not doing all this healing for people to run over us and tell us what to do when we knowing deep down inside that's not what we want to do. If you don't want to go, no. If you don't want to give the money, no. If you don't want to be bought, no. It's okay to say no in this season and the rest of the seasons, because you are setting boundaries. And I feel like if your boundaries are not set, people will run over you. And then that's another reason why we are feeling like we're pushed in the corner or we're pushed in the closet and we can't share what we're going through, because we letting people run over us. We're just going with the flow. We're just letting them do whatever they want to do. And that's deep down inside, that's not what we want to do. Let me tell you another thing. Stop thinking setting boundaries is selfish. It's not selfish. You are self-prioritizing yourself. If it's not something you agree with, it's not something that you align your beliefs with, you do not have to do it. Okay? Stop letting individuals make you feel like you are selfish because that's not something that you want to do. All right? I had to learn that whether it was with my job, my family, friends, strangers, I just had to identify what drains me, and I had to create limits. Because oftentimes, that's another thing we don't talk about. People overstep their boundaries and they create a lane that is mentally and emotionally draining us. And if we would say no the first time around, we won't even have to go through the phases of the up and down emotional roller coaster that some individuals put us on. And y'all know what I'm talking about. The relationships with your friends, your family, your man, your woman, okay? If you set the boundaries and say, no, that this does not work for me, no, this is not something I want to do, you won't go on the roller coaster. But something in us just likes going on the roller coaster. We just like to go up and down when we know deep down inside we should have said no a long time ago. No, I didn't want to ride this ride. So I'm going to tell you to do this. Ask yourself, how is it benefiting me? How can I learn from this? What can I take from this? And can I let it go? And if you can identify that you can let it go, let it go. And stand on the word no. I'm going to keep telling y'all that. Because why would you trade your peace and your happiness to be mentally and emotionally drained and steady fighting battles in silence when you're crying out for help? You got to take accountability somewhere. Because if you take accountability and learn to prioritize yourself like you do everybody else, we won't be here to begin with, if that makes sense. Because here's the truth. Most of us put ourselves last. We are the last on the totem pole. We cater to our needs last. And most of the time, we only cater to our needs when it blows up in our face. We spend so much time taking care of the kids, trying to be number one on the job, trying to meet the goals on the job, trying to take care of our home, be good friends. We don't want to be labeled as a bad friend, so we overpouring and sharing into our friends, showing up for our spouses, where we're not even showing up for ourselves. And then we're left with nothing to give. We may give ourselves a moment out of 8 hours in a day. You may give yourself 5 minutes, and not even that. Most people don't even give themselves that. But I'm gonna give or take. You give yourself 5 minutes just to stop and realize, what did I do for me today? Most of us spend all day satisfying others that we don't even satisfy our own needs. It's just like when we keep going, and our body gets sick. And then we say, oh man, I'm sick, I'm tired. But if you took the time to say, hey, I need 8 hours of sleep today. I don't care because the phone is ringing. I don't care because the kids have this. I'm going to take this time. I'm going to prioritize myself. I'm going to make arrangements for somebody to pick the kids up. Because us strong-minded ones, right? We so strong, we're used to doing everything ourselves. Our hands have to be on everything that we touch. We have to be actively involved in everything that we got going on, to the point to where, like I said, when we get sick, we're trying to understand, well, man, I didn't even realize that I was getting sick. But if you think about it, your body gives you warnings before you get full-blown on sick. It tells you, hey, I need water today. Hey, I need vitamins. Hey, you need to rest. I just was recently battling with a sinus. It started off with sinus, and then it went to my throat, and it was just sitting in my throat. But I knew my body was telling me I needed rest because I had been going. From the kids to my businesses to my friends. I was just pouring from an empty cup. And then finally I said, well, hey, I'm going to take 2 days out the week and rest. And I kid you not, when I rest, that sinus went away. It was like I woke up and I was feeling great. When I didn't rest, I was sounding like a man. My voice, I was coughing up mucus. It was just a lot going on. But I knew that my body was telling me that I needed to rest. I knew that I needed to rest because I just had so much going on. And again, operating in that strong survival mode of thinking that, hey, you can't slow down. You got to keep going. You got to make money. You got to do this. But not prioritizing myself. And I got distracted. And I had to immediately get back on track and say, no, I have to prioritize myself. So today I'm going to take 2 days off. I'm going to put the phone on Do Not Disturb. And I'm not going to cater to my business. I'm not going to pour into nobody. What I am going to do is pour into catching up on some rest. Because if I don't tackle this sinus infection, it could lead to something else. Right? And that's what we don't want to face. But I learned that once I set the boundaries and once I stopped battling the silent battles behind closed doors, I realized to put me first and realize what it is that I like and what it is that I'm willing to sacrifice to make me happy. Say if we want to be technical, because I'm gonna make sure that I'm happy all across the board. Okay, nobody's not gonna mess with my happiness. I'm gonna make sure that I wake up every day and it has to go. I'm not gonna say it's my world, but what I will say is I have set the boundaries. I know what it is that I want to deal with and what I don't want to deal with. And if it's not something that I don't want to deal with, I have learned to say no, which was one of my biggest things that I never would say no. I always said yes, and I was in situations that I just didn't understand how I got in them situations. But if I would have stood up and said, no, hey, this doesn't work for me, and I prioritize what it is that I like and what I don't like, I wouldn't have got involved in some of those things. But I'm not going to knock it because guess what? It taught me lessons. And I learned from it, and I learned to put me first, do the things that I like to do, and also set boundaries and realize that, hey, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to challenge you again to start small. I want you to choose one thing this week that is just for you. Whether it's taking yourself on an ice cream date, a movie date, getting a full 8 hours of rest, waking up at 5 a.m., going to the gym, reading that book that you've been had sitting on the side of the bed that you keep saying you're going to read, but you never make time to read it because your brain is constantly thinking about what's next versus being at peace. I want you to actually take 10 minutes out the day and just sit in silence. The power of silence when your brain is constantly going at a million thoughts per minute and second, you just don't understand how that silence will bring you some type of gratitude of peace and happiness, and you realizing what you don't and do want to do. Even just taking yourself on a solo date. Let's get out of the mindset, I don't want to go on a solo date. Why not? Treat yourself. Learn what it is that you like. Understand that it's okay to go eat. Take yourself to the finest restaurant, get dressed up, and go sit down and eat. And you will be so tuned into yourself to where you won't be, and I'm going to be real. When you're tuned into yourself, you don't look for others to make you happy because you make your own self happy. You won't look for the attention that you didn't get as a child or the attention that you didn't get as a teenager or adult, because guess what? You're giving yourself that attention. Because when we realize that self-care isn't a luxury, it's survival, it will change the whole dynamics of things. And what I mean by that, this is everyday life. You have to take care of yourself every day. This is not a trophy. This is not a reward. This is not something for Instagram, TikTok, and all of that. This is your everyday life that you should be setting boundaries. You should be saying no, and you should be prioritizing yourself because you want to live a long, healthy life until it's time. That time is time, okay? If we want to be real. But because the truth is, if you break it down around you, then you'll break down too. And so taking care of yourself and your family and your business and your dreams. Let's not forget about that because you got to live out your life too. I want you to know that you are not alone. Whatever silent battles you are fighting, I promise you, there is light on the other side. We all have been there before. I've been there multiple times, and I'm telling you, the light is there. You see it, okay? But the first step is acknowledging it, speaking it, and choosing yourself first every time. All right? If this episode spoke to you, you already know what to do. Like and share this with a friend or a family member who needs this today, okay? And if you have not liked and subscribed, what are you waiting on? Because next week, we're going to be talking about something that everybody is going through, which is, where is my partner? Navigating singleness and walking out on faith and modern dating. Yes, you heard me right. And trust me, you don't want to miss this because we gonna get to the truth, all right? We not sugarcoating any of it, all right? Until next time, I love you guys, and I see you next time.